Hey, how you doing today? And welcome to another video piano lesson. Today we're going to be talking about octave scales, which is another fundamental training exercise to really drill in your octaves, because octaves are used all the time in music. They make stuff sound basically way bigger. Anytime you're playing a melody and you just, hey, I think I'm going to try playing it in octaves for the chorus, it'll sound bigger, it'll sound bolder, and they just sound cool and they're all over the place. So you really want to get solid octaves. Now the drill is actually pretty simple in terms of the notes. All it is a scale, but you're playing it both hands in octaves. So for example, if I'm doing an E flat major scale, which looks like this, all the way up the keyboard and down, we're doing the same thing, 4 octaves, but we're playing it octaves with both hands. So it's going to look something like this. So that's what it's gonna look like once you practice hands separate, you slowly sped it up and you get it to that point. And once you get it, pretty fast, then octaves in all your songs will just become a piece of cake because you've already drilled in the muscle memory to do them and you already got them solid and they feel comfortable and stuff. All right, so a couple little nuances for this. First of all, fingering. If you have small hands like me, you're gonna use 1 and 5 on everything. But if you have big hands, you're going to want to use your 4th finger on the black note. So anytime you're hitting a black note octave, like that, you're going to actually use your 4th finger. And the reason for this is, whenever you drill one finger over and over and over, it's going to lead to some tension, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So if you have big enough hands, you want to use your 4th finger on the black notes. That way, when you're hitting the white notes, you're using your pinky. When you're hitting your black notes, you're using your 4th finger, and it'll relieve some of the tension on your wrists and on your tendons. Now, if you try the 4th finger and you have to stretch for it like I do, that's going to lead to even more tension than, not switching fingers. So for me, it's easier to just always use your 5th finger. But try both ways, see which one you can do and stay more relaxed and just use that finger. All right, so that leads me on to the biggest thing for octaves, which I already said it, but relaxation. And it's really tough to do. What everybody does when they start out with octaves is they kind of lock their wrist and they lock their fingers and they go from their arm and they just, and that's very slow and it's tension heavy. It can lead to injury. So if you ever feel pain when you're doing this drill, stop immediately and go on do another exercise. And what you really want to do a lot to keep that tension down is switch between hands, switch between exercises, because if you're learning scales, it's not, normal scales, just, it doesn't have that much tension in your fingers to be able to play this. So you can just drill them over and over till the cows come home. But the thing about octaves is they're always going to have some tension because you have to stretch to reach that octave. So when you're first starting out, you want to switch between exercises. So what I would always do is maybe practice right hand 4 times. So just work on, do it like 4 times, and then it'll start to get tired. So then you switch and you do your left hand. Do it 4 times, then switch back and forth. Or maybe, you do octaves a couple times, and then you switch and you do arpeggios. And you do your arpeggio exercises, and then you come back to octaves. But the point is, you want it to always be tension-free, and you don't want to just tire out and keep pounding on your wrists. And that's what makes octaves difficult to learn. So it's going to take a little longer to learn than your arpeggios and your scales and such. But you always want to just keep working on them, little by little every day. All right, so now I'm going to bring the camera right down to the kind of keyboard level because I want to show you some of the form we use and exactly how you want to be kind of hitting your octaves. All right, so here we are right at the piano. I wanted to give you a really close up on the exact kind of motion you use when you do octaves and how you stay super relaxed. So the first thing you want to do is, I call it the throw. You don't want to think of playing octaves and kind of hitting the octaves like this. You want to throw your hand at the keys. So it looks like you're literally throwing a ball, kind of. So it looks something like this. And just watch that motion. I almost kind of think of it sometimes as like a bird of prey coming down and grabbing a rodent or something that it's, going to eat for dinner or something like that. So and keep that wrist super relaxed. And if you noticed, I'm not moving my arm a whole lot. The motion's not coming from my arm because the arm is like a big thing So you're not going to be able to play fast with it because you have to move a lot of motion. Now, if you're playing with your wrist, that's where you can get the really fast octaves. All right, so that's the basics on kind of that part of the form. Play with, from the wrist and almost throw your hands at the keys. All right, so the second thing I want to talk about is to keep your tension down. You don't want to always have your hand extended like this in octaves. You want to kind of have it like closed more like this, and then when you're about to hit the octave, you kind of quick stretch it out to hit it, and then come back to close. That way you're not always causing tension by keeping your hand open. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I hope you can. So it's kind of like relax, and at the last second, you're going to tense it to be able to hit that octave, and then you're going to let it relax again. So and I hope you can see what I'm doing. So basically, if pretend the piano is right here and I'm hitting the keys like this, it's going to look like relax, and then right before I hit the keys, it kind of tenses to hit the octave, and then it relaxes again. Because that way, 90% of the time, you're actually relaxed, and you're only tensing on that split second when you're actually hitting the octaves, and that'll help you stay a lot more relaxed. So that's the second thing I want to talk about. What is the third thing? Oh, the third thing, this is a more advanced technique, so don't worry about this till later. But basically, when you start getting your octaves faster and faster, you want to start what I call bouncing your octaves. And basically what it is you kind of do multiple hits within one arm motion. So your arm motion looks like this, kind of like up and out like this. And in that arm motion, you're going to do like 3 octave hits. So that's a slow motion, so it kind of looks like this. And it's kind of hard to explain, but you get the hang of it. It's almost like your arm is creating the macro motion, the kind of big motion, and then your hand and your wrist are kind of like just bouncing off the keys as you go up. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Don't worry about that for now. That's once you start getting your octaves faster, start worrying about that. One last thing I almost forgot to tell you about. What you want to do is also play light and play out of the keys, it's called. So if you're playing into the keys, you're really hitting to the bottom of the keyboard. And when we do our chords exercise, if you've gotten through that video, you're playing into the keys. You're really playing through. When you play fast octaves, you're not going to be able to play into the keys because that's a slower way of playing. So you're going to have to lighten up. So instead of like that, it's just staccato, it's just light. So think, and it's almost like you don't even press the keys hardly all the way down. You kind of just like, you kind of hit the keys, and the momentum of the keys cause it to go down, but it's real light. So that's another thing you want to think about. So that's all I got for you guys for this video lesson. Remember, if you have any pain, stop immediately and go on to a different exercise. That's the biggest thing, is keep that relaxation going and don't give up on octaves. This is the longest thing that it took me to get. Like scales, arpeggios, all that stuff, it's a faster learning curve, whereas octaves, it's going to take you a little bit to get the feel of it. But once you get that click point and it clicks in your system, you'll have octaves forever, and they'll be easy and they'll be smooth. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace out and happy practicing.